Hello there, my very good friends. Andy Murray here for What Culture Wrestling, and I hope you're well and in a balanced and thoughtful state of mind, because today we are going to talk about one of those topics that nobody agrees on: stars. The very concept of stars in pro wrestling. And to make things even more divisive, how about we start with this little statement? Do you know who is a star in pro wrestling? Kenny Omega. But before we dive into that, put the pitchforks down for a second and let's define what a star in wrestling really is. I think today a lot of people will just use that term to either describe somebody who WWE or AEW or any other company has told you is a star, or even just somebody they like. Somebody who's had a banger match at WrestleMania or Double or Nothing or at the Tokyo Dome, or somebody in Stamford parlance who has made a moment. But to me, I'm not really sure that's how that word star should be used. To me, a star is somebody who attracts attention, who pulls people in, who has a proven track record of driving business in the right direction. I'm talking ratings figures, ticket sales, merch sales, trending on social media. Basically, things that you can measure and use as objective evidence that, yeah, they're a star. And to me, when you look at a star with this definition, it's very easy to apply it to Kenny Omega. Let's look at his record, shall we? If we go over to Japan, I mean, between the first Kazuchika Okada match and his match with Chris Jericho a year later, Kenny Omega was on top for a lot of that. He was the rising, up-and-coming next IWGP Heavyweight Champion. It was happening. And during this window, New Japan World subscriptions improved from 60,000 to 120,000. They doubled. On top of this, Kenny holds the all-time drawing record in the city of Sapporo throughout history. And as well, Wrestle Kingdom 12 and 13 both featured the Cleaner in headlining matches, and they drew 43,000 and 38,000 fans respectively. And if that isn't impressive enough, Wrestle Kingdom 12 was New Japan's highest attended show in 16 years. And Kenny Omega was right there. The guy objectively is a draw in Japan. He was at the very top when the promotion was going through its most successful business period ever. And guess what? It's translated to the United States as well. Revolution 2021 was the most successful pay-per-view in AEW history, both in terms of buy rates and the amount of money that came into the company. And who was in the main event? Main event didn't go too well, but who was in that main event? Kenny Omega. All Out 2019 was a 30-minute sellout, much of which was based on the promise of a Kenny Omega versus Jon Moxley match that didn't end up happening. Also, he has countless quarter-hour ratings increases to his name as well. And look, if you want to bring Impact Wrestling into the equation too, and we probably should, this year's Rebellion pay-per-view, again with Kenny on top, did 9 times more buys than Bound for Glory last year. That, by the way, is their WrestleMania equivalent. That's nuts. But this video is only partly about Kenny Omega. I bring him up and justify his position as a star with these facts, figures, and numbers, things that you can't really argue with, because in pro wrestling it sometimes takes an older star, an existing one, to make a new one. And on the 26th of June episode of AEW Dynamite, Kenny Omega helped a younger wrestler take his next step in his own star-making process. Who this video is really about is Jungle Boy. Now, it's going to be a long process for Jungle Boy to get to the top. He's not yet a star in pro wrestling because he doesn't have any of the things, any of the measurable things that we spoke about earlier in this video, and he may not have them by the end of next year. Hell, he may not even have them in 5 years. But this takes a long, long time. Star making is often a gradual, careful process, baby steps every single week, month, and year, and that's exactly what AEW are doing with Jungle Boy. The company hasn't made a single misstep with this guy since he came in the first place, and to illustrate that, let's run through a couple of his historic matches. Let's go back to the 18th of December 2019. First of all, we're going to Jungle Boy versus Chris Jericho. Jericho in this situation was full of himself. He agreed to Jungle Boy's challenge to a singles match because he was punching down. He wasn't taking Jack Perry seriously. And why should he? He was Le Champion, and this guy hadn't even had a singles match in the company yet. He had no reason not to think that this was some little pube he was just going to crush up in about 5 minutes. Well, Jericho assigned a 10-minute time limit to this match because he was so confident he could beat him. But he didn't beat him. Jungle Boy pushed him to the limit. He could not be defeated in that 10-minute window. And in doing that, he got Jericho so shaken up that Jericho walked out on the 5-minute overtime that Jericho himself had asked for. So what happened there exactly? Jungle Boy looked like a winner without having to pin or submit the world champion, which at that point, and at this point today as well, he wasn't ready for. Fast forward to Double or Nothing 2020, Jungle Boy versus MJF. While the Jericho match was about proving he could hang with the wily veteran heel of the promotion, this one was about proving he could hang with the young, upcoming heel. He lost this match, as he should have, because again, the story here was critical. This was about proving that Jungle Boy still has a ways to go. He's not queue-jumping MJF, who's of a similar age but higher up in the pecking order as things stand. He is growing. He is taking a step forward, getting knocked half a step back, learning from that experience and progressing. When you push somebody to a level that they aren't yet ready for, that they aren't yet prepared for, they are inevitably overexposed. And that's why Jungle Boy needed to lose to Kenny Omega as well. I mean, for crying out loud, Kenny Omega has been wrestling since Jungle Boy was 7 years old. The guy is a developing wrestler. That's where he's at, and there's no point in pretending that he's anything else. When you do that, viewers know that what you're presenting them is false, and they lose their engagement. And AEW have been very smart about presenting Jungle Boy in an appropriate light. He is an exciting young up-and-coming wrestler, but he is one who does suffer from the occasional spate of inexperience, as shown in the Omega match. Kenny Omega overcame him because at this stage in his career, he was too much for him, and that was the right story. But that didn't stop Jungle Boy from being at the heart of some truly pulse-pounding near falls and everything else, generating great drama, because at this young stage in his career, he's already pretty damn great between the ropes. His journey is all about overcoming flaws. It's about improving himself. The wrestler is going to learn from his experiences and come back from every match stronger. But just as Jungle Boy is developing as a character, Jack Perry, the man, is growing as well. He still has some flaws of his own to take care of before we can slap the word star to him and, start counting all the money. And look, it would be unbalanced not to address a few of those flaws, right? AEW is a talkers promotion. Some of the best talkers of all time in wrestling are in this company, from Eddie Kingston to Tully Blanchard. Jungle Boy barely opens his mouth on TV. He is not a natural talker. When he does, he often sounds kind of uncomfortable, not much conviction coming from the guy. And if he's to ascend to that level, he needs to develop a level of assuredness. So he needs to be able to project some confidence, is what I'm saying, because these things are definitely barriers to his long-term success. You need to have that level of outward confidence if you're going to become a convincing world champion. I mean, Jungle Boy's boyish charm and natural shyness are part of his appeal at the moment. But if you want to have a long-term sustainable career as a credible main event level guy, that won't do. You need to get rid of those. Even Daniel Bryan, this decade's most convincing underdog, had a bit of swagger to him in the ring, and Jungle Boy has to develop that. But he's not at the point in his career where his character needs to have those traits is the thing, because the slow road to the top is the right one. And look, again, Jungle Boy is 24 years old. He has loads of time on his side, but he already has the kind of crowd connection that a lot of babyfaces would kill for. I mean, you simply cannot fake the kind of reaction he got at Double or Nothing this year. And, it helps as well that his entrance music is a total bop that encourages mass sing-alongs everywhere he goes, including the next What Culture staff night out when me and Michael Sidgwick will be belting it out on karaoke. But I digress. Let's talk more about Jungle Boy. Jungle Boy's a great athlete. He can bump, he can sell, he can work a traditionally structured match, he can pop the crowd with exciting offense, and yeah, his frame is still filling out a little bit, but he's already a good-looking guy, and in that regard, he's already pretty damn marketable. The skeleton of a credible, card-topping, long-term main eventer is right there. But in order to get there, Jungle Boy and AEW together must work diligently on developing the things that are going to make him jump off the page. It's going to take a while. We're going to have to be patient, But if you look at his trajectory so far, there's not really been a single misstep. And for a bit of perspective, let's consider Hangman Page. If he wins the AEW World title at All Out, which has been rumoured, then he will be doing so as a 13-year veteran of the ring. And even with Hangman Page, there are still some lingering doubts over whether or not he's there yet. Not from me, but, from other people, internet people, all those guys. He's been wrestling for twice as long as Jungle Boy. That kind of really helps see the picture here. Just how inexperienced Jungle Boy really is. Jungle Boy still has so much left to prove, but he has a lot more to offer, and as this gradual star-making process unfolds, it's going to be very interesting to see where he ends up 2, 3, 5, 10 years from now. Can't wait to follow it personally, and AEW, like I've said, hasn't made a single mistake with this guy so far. What reason do we have to not have any confidence in this process? Anyway guys, that's it. My take on Jungle Boy, his star-making process, his career so far, and what could possibly lie ahead in the future. But I want to know yours, as always. Just don't be weird and argue about stuff. That's not fun. But go ahead and fire off some comments down below. You can like, share, subscribe, and follow us on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE. And if you want to get really invasive, you can find me on Twitter at Andy H. Murray, where you can tell me how wrong I am. Goodbye.